Hello, everybody, and welcome to B2B Tech Marketing Day 2022, our second annual B2B Tech Marketing Day. And I'm so happy that you will spend your afternoon together with us here at Bright Vision and with our great speakers that is coming to attend here this afternoon. My name is Jacob Löwenbrand. I'm the Managing Director of Bright Vision, and I will host this event together with my colleague Emma.
Yes. Hi, everyone. So my name is Emma Kotka, and I'm working as a marketing assistant here at Bright Vision. And the past couple of months, I have been spending a lot of my time to make this event happen. So I'm very happy to be here and thrilled to have you all with us. So we'll be the side host today, and we'll be helping out coordinating everything, manage your questions, and so on. So with that said, let's warm up the chat box with some interactions.
Yeah.
So first of all, it would be fun and interesting to hear about where you are all from that are attending to this event. So you can just use the chat on the right-hand side of the screen to type and send. So let's see if we can get some chat action going. Where are you all from?
Yes, please let us know. Austria, Spain, Sweden, France. Awesome. Wow. Ireland, Germany.
Netherlands.
We are covering Svalbard. Wow. Poland, Bulgaria, Norway, Finland, and of course Gothenburg and Bulgaria. So cool to see. We're covering Czech Republic as well, and Poland, Paris, Denmark. Wow, Portugal as well, Lithuania, and UK.
Very
I can see a lot of places here. Wow. Awesome. Thank you so much for that. And India as well. And Borås, close to Gothenburg. We are so happy to have you all with us and happy to have such a global event here today as well. And I can just give you a very short background. We who are arranging this virtual event this afternoon, it's Bright Vision. So we're a B2B marketing agency working with tech and SaaS companies as clients. So we do primarily European campaigns of different kinds and working with that. And we've been around for 22 years this year, actually. So even though we haven't had this event more than once before, we have been around for quite some time. And yeah, we've been working with a lot of different clients here, just a few of our client roosters. But tech marketing is our theme. And that's one of the reasons why we have this event here today. So, yeah.
Jacob, would you like to tell the audience a bit about the reason to why we at Bright Vision are hosting this event today?
Absolutely. So we've been working. I started out in '97 working with high-tech marketing. I just came across the book Crossing the Chasm by Jeffrey Moore, which I had the privilege to interview in our podcast just 3 months ago, which was awesome. It was 30 years since he wrote this book. And that book became a blueprint for high-tech startups and technology companies, how to take a product to market that it's discontinuous or innovative, so to say. So that's where we started out. Since then, we have pivoted into different kind of technology marketing, inbound, outbound, and so forth. But the thing is that for marketeers in B2B marketing, especially in tech areas, there's a lot of stuff going on. We need to keep up with the trends, the tools, the methodologies, the best practices, and understand where should we put our efforts in this year and the coming half year, and what OKRs should we have, and so forth. So hopefully we will have a little bit of inspiration of that, learn a few things, get a few good ideas, and maybe contact a few vendors or experts in different areas where you might feel that, wow, this is an interesting area. Maybe we should look into that going forward and so forth. So that's why we do this, because it's an exciting area and a lot of things going on. Okay, so today we will also have a small giveaway in terms of a free digital marketing audit and a growth workshop. So if you're interested in having that from Bright Vision, you can just sign up, and we'll have at least 5 who will sign up for that. So please, if you're interested, please do that. And the new thing for this year is that we have a sponsor to the event. We have partnered up with Adobe as a gold sponsor to this event, making it even better this year. So we're so grateful to have Adobe with us. And many of you are probably already familiar with Adobe, and maybe already use some of their products and so forth. But I can say that they deliver game-changing products around creativity and innovation that is really, really cool, and define the possibilities around digital experiences. And all the kind of products and suites they have, where they connect things like data and introduce new technologies to democratize creativity, shape the next generation of storytelling and things like that, to inspire creative business. So it's a cool sponsor to have with us, and we will get more from them later on today. And you can check out them more if you click on this link. And hopefully we'll learn a lot from Adobe as well in this event today. So thank you so much for that. Alrighty, let's move on.
It's quiz time. So before our first speaker enters the virtual stage, we thought we'd get everyone a bit warmed up by having a little quiz. So what will happen is that we will type 3 questions each at a time. And the person who answers correctly first will get to spin the wheel that you see there behind Jacob. And if you spin and get green, you win a nice coffee thermos from Eva Solo. And maybe you can show it, Jacob, so everyone sees what the little
very nice one. Yes.
And then if you get white, you will get a portable charger. There you see.
Very, very convenient.
Yes. So let's get started with the first question. Question number 1. What company is the gold sponsor at this event?
Hard question.
Ooh, yes. I think we have a winner already. It's Marie Husey. I'm not sure I pronounced it correctly, but
you got a thermos. Woohoo! Great,
nice.
That was quick.
Very quick. Okay, second question. Our first speaker to present today is Christian Weiss. What company does Christian work at? Is the question.
Yay! That's great, Marie.
Let's see. Yeah, Autodesk, Trudeberg.
Oh yes, Trude. That's correct. And you get the, what's it called? The loader.
Yeah, the portable charger.
Charger, sorry.
Yes, nice.
Woohoo!
And on to the last question. We at Bright Vision have been helping B2B tech companies to grow their businesses since the year of ... Yes, that is the question. What year was Bright Vision founded? One.
Yes, 2000. Yes. That is correct.
Yeah, Mr. Eero Pitkäsalo. Yes. Congratulations.
That's correct. I started out in 97 as a freelancer, though. So 2000, we incorporated the agency Bright Vision. Okay, thank you so much for that. And here's today's agenda. It's a spec one, so I won't read it in the details here, but you can find it in the handout section there, up to the right, far corner. And then we will let the speakers introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Stacy Danheiser, founder and CMO of Shake Marketing Group, and I'm really excited to be part of B2B Tech Marketing Day. My topic is Hi, I'm Stacy Danheiser, founder and CMO. Hi, I'm Stacy Danheiser, founder and CMO of Hi, I'm Stacy Danheiser, founder. I'm Stacy Danheiser,
It seems like we're having some technical issues here. Just hang on a moment.
Okay, I think we'll go over to the next part there instead, and we'll we'll jump that. But you can see all the speakers. It's a great lineup, and in the action there. So some
Yes.
general information, Emma.
Absolutely. So before we let all the speakers in, I just wanted to provide you all with some general information that could be good to know about today's event. So first of all, the tempo will be quite high. We have 6 presentations ahead of us until 4:40 p.m. Central European summertime. And you can log in and log off many times as you wish. And you can just use the same link that you've been provided earlier on. And also, please feel free to comment on today's agenda and the presentations in the chat. Or you can also use Twitter and use the hashtag B2B and tag brightvision. And in the end of every speaking session, we will have a brief Q&A. So drop your questions at any time, and we'll do our best to respond to your questions. And with that said, I think it's time for presenting our first speaker of the event. Right, Jacob? I think you have to unmute yourself there. There we go.
Yes. Let me introduce our first speaker. It's so good to have Christian Weiss with us here today. Christian is a director of ABM in the EMEA region at Autodesk. And he was actually one of the founding members of the ABM global practice and the leadership team of ABM and Autodesk. So exciting background and exciting things. We're looking forward to hear from you. So welcome, Christian.
Hello, and thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity to speak today. Yes, it's true. I'm one of the founding members of ABM at Autodesk, which was for the last 4 years quite a journey. And of course, lots of ups and downs and surprisingly, funny insights sometimes when you have expectations and you are looking into your own database and you are experiencing that fishing with a spear is not something you can just switch on.
Yeah, so cool. So great to have you in content. So where are you calling in from today? Based in Germany?
I'm based in Germany. I'm calling from Munich. So I could have bring some sunshine, but it's the same as in entire Europe. So it's cloudy and freezing.
Yeah, well, great to have you with us. So take it away, Christian.
Thank you very much. So for today, I'm not at all talking about nice techniques of doing nice ABM. I'm not talking about technology or high-end stuff where you can do better and better ABM with switching it on. So I'm just talking about a very, very basic thing, which is the alignment between ABM or marketing and sales. I'm convinced this is a perfect match, but there is a long list of pitfalls, of course. So when I started with ABM, and this is just to introduce also my journey, we had a lot of ups and downs, and I think like every marketer, I have my unconscious bias in front of sales or about sales, and I'm sure sales has it about me as well. And I'm sure it's not just unconscious bias, it's maybe also sometimes conscious bias, and you might agree. And maybe if you have some examples, you can write it down for you, what you think about your sales colleagues and what sales thinks about marketing. If you're in sales, you can also write it down, but please don't post it. This could be maybe another hour of conversation and a lot of laughter for all of us. But before I step into it, I wanted to give a brief observation or brief overview of what we are doing at Autodesk. We are one of these customers of many agencies who specialize in ABM, who are running it on a scale or high scale level. That means we have started with a corporate initiative, as everyone did it, right? Then we kicked it off in 2018. We moved quickly in ABM in mid-market and named accounts, first of all. Then we started ABM practice as a centralized support function to roll ABM programs out on scale, especially also with our colleagues from strategic territory who joined us then. And now, so after a strong content initiative, we invested a lot of time last year in executive engagement as a next level for us, because our database was better and better, so that we could fish with a spear better than in the beginning. And so now we are in the phase of running ABM with a proper one-to-one, one-to-few, and one-to-many approach as good as possible. Of course, I'm not sure if we are there yet, but after 4 years, I think we have achieved a lot. When I started, and I showed this a while ago already, when we started with account-based marketing, I got in the first QBR I attended with sales, I got the question, so what is ABM? Is it another bullshit in marketing? And that brought me immediately in my defensive position with a lot of conscious bias in front of sales. Later, of course, we got better feedback when we started working super close with sales, when ABM kicked in and we were part of their ecosystem and we delivered stuff they never got before. So I got really, or we as a team got really, really positive feedback. But now we are in year 4, and we still get questions where I think, okay, as an ABM expert, should I start crying? Or should I just take a note and say, okay, I need to work with that salesperson a bit closer? And that was a comment I received really 2 weeks ago, no, last week. It was about one of the largest accounts we have. And it was about joining their account planning meeting. And they want to drive growth in this account for more than 10 times of the ACV we do right now. And the question after, really, I took a note after 3 minutes was, can we have more leads? Because we have enormous goals to achieve. And I struggled a bit with how should I react? But I thought, okay, now it's time to really think about how do I communicate? Now my slides are gone. Here they are. How do we communicate account-based marketing? How do we position ourselves? What is our role? And what do other people expect from us? And what do I expect from others to do? And I think the relationship between marketing and sales is enormously powerful if we do it right. So what I did then, I thought, okay, let's look into some research. So what are the values of really powerful relationships? And I looked into really relationships, not into sales and marketing and stuff. There are, of course, lots of advices who have nothing to do with professional environments, but I think where they all repeat themselves is in trust, in make sure your communication fits well, and you have shared goals, values, and priorities. And then I dig deeper into the professional world, and there's one book you should maybe read, and you can go deeper into detail by yourself. But it's called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And you can have a lot of shared goals and appear accountability, and you hold each other accountable in whatever. But if you don't deeply trust each other, and this is formalized in vulnerability-based trust, so you can share your weakness, you can be yourself, you can have an unfiltered dialogue without thinking, oh, what might the other think about my comment? And this is the fundament of productive teams. We did a lot of training at Autodesk so many years ago on this, and also on the next project I'm sharing. The topic is, I can strongly recommend do this training with your sales peers and not as a marketing team, because this is where the powerful relationship happens. The second thing I can recommend is also to think about a book from Jim Tem, who wrote a book about radical collaboration. And he separated productive and unproductive teams in red zones and green zones. And he said, when everyone highly trusts each other, and we support each other, and we cooperate well, and we are not ending up in defensive positions, then we are super productive and we are in the green zone. If you are in the red zone and someone else has to tell us what to achieve because we are not trusting each other, then the risk is high that we are not productive and are not delivering well. Very quick, from my point of view, this is the major pitfall if you think in pit crews in your company. And the pit crew is defined by sales, and sales thinks about the pit crew, and you think maybe in your mind about a Formula One car, and sales puts themselves in the car and they like use the rest of the pit crew as their support function, then it might fail because we forget to put the customer in the center. If you put the customer or the account in the center, then we are a partner to sales, we are peers on eye level, and we look into the projected outcome of the customer or the needs of the customer, and we jointly work against this goal. And then I think this changes the perspective and everything. From my point of view, also sales and marketing work together, but we work not on the same account at the same time immediately. So the purchase decision is made up by 80% until the customer or the prospect is ready to talk to sales. And these 80% have to be covered by marketing at a different phase than when sales is engaging. And sales engages hopefully when it's time for harvesting, but marketing has to make this account and the demand ready to have a conversation with sales. If we try to do that at the same time, we are just standing on each other's toes and have expectations which cannot be delivered. From my point of view, the source of this is coming from a time when we sold to audiences and more to smaller accounts, or we didn't differentiate between large and small. And the leads we delivered to sales were ready to transact. Someone said, I want to talk to sales. Then we shared this lead technically or manually or whatever with our sales colleagues. They called them, had a conversation, and then they sold the 3 licenses. Now when it's more relevant to understand the account in depth, to identify with whom am I talking to? Is that really the decision maker? Can this person bring me to the right decision maker, and so on? This lead from like expected transaction ready moves earlier to the funnel. And this is where I think we have the highest value, because this lead is the entry to start a discovery. This is a tricky portion from my point of view, because this creates misunderstandings, right? We deliver a lead which is a door opener, and sales expects us to deliver a lead which is transaction ready. So if you agree with your goal setting and your expectations to each other on what is the lead to be meant for, especially in larger accounts, then marketing plays the role well, and sales takes it over and can get the most out of it. Another topic, and especially when we talk about MQLs or leads, I think in account-based marketing, a single MQL has not really a decent value. A single MQL is sometimes someone who filled a form because they wanted to download a white paper to understand what we are trying to tell them. Yeah. But this person sits in a company with 20, 30, 50, 100,000 employees. So it's not representing a demand in this company at all. The expectation is send me the lead and I transact it. But at the end, it's a single person's view, maybe even a working student who is preparing their master thesis. But at the end, we deliver this single lead, and the BDR says, thank you, I got a lead, but it's useless. That person was not interested. There was no demand in the company. If you look at an account as a marketing qualified account, or as an account-based view on the contacts, we see various behaviors, we see a mix of interest, we see, we can use technology, but also conversations to identify, okay, is there really a demand in this organization, in this company? Who can help me getting connected to the right decision maker? And then at this moment, we see this single contact who reached out to us in context of the account. We are doing this at Autodesk. We have an engagement score, as you see on the right side, of low, medium, high, and very high engaged accounts. And this is a machine learning setup so that it's really related to the account's behavior, demand, size, install base, and so on, number of users. And it's very complex, but it helps me to understand, okay, this is a very high engaged account. Ideally, sales picks this account by themselves because they see there must be a demand. Or we go down and say, marketing, why don't we just focus on low and medium engaged accounts? Because this is where I can make a difference on the expected 80% of creating demand until the account is ready to talk to a salesperson. So marketing qualified accounts. And this, if you mix this now with where marketing and sales priorities should be, we found at Autodesk, and this was driven by sales, by the way, a different method of looking into the pipeline. What we have at Autodesk is a 5-quarter rolling pipeline. So that means we are not fixed to a fiscal year when we talk about this rolling pipeline. It's really, really rolling. And sales, from my point of view, also should focus on the harvesting on the today, but also, of course, have their future customers in mind and have a strategic approach to them. But in the definition, as we know already, ABM is a strategic approach. That means if we would focus also on the current quarter, we would have maybe little table fireworks. Everyone would see us, but we would never develop the footprint in these accounts. We would never really increase the potential and the demand in these accounts if we don't take the full range of these 5+ quarters. So if that colleague from like this large account would have said, my renewal time is end of next year, I think it's a good timing to engage now and start identifying demand early enough, and then let's maybe find some leads who help us with the discovery. Then I think we would have aligned very, very well. So the marketing priority should be in the future to deliver best value for sales priorities. It sounds so easy, but it's not, obviously. The next thing is how we are using this 5-quarter rolling pipeline. So we measure, of course, our goals as contribution to the sales pipeline, and we split it by marketing sourced, which comes through leads and contacts we serve to sales. And the second is marketing influenced, where we can tag engagements of these accounts until they become an opportunity. So as soon as it's an opportunity, we track backwards 180 days and say, okay, there was enough engagement, so high or very high engagement, so that we can match it with the opportunity. And then we can have this 5-quarter rolling pipeline jointly as a view with sales and say, okay, how can we identify future gaps to address in marketing? And the second is, how can we optimize our pipeline management so that these created pipelines are not just like stage 1 pipelines and then they fall from the cliff, but also are maintained and marketed until they really purchase or renew. For us, it's really a good vehicle. We have to practice it on both sides, that we are not just looking at this 5-quarter rolling pipeline and say, okay, I made my goals, it's 40% marketing contribution, but at the end, we have to have an open, trustful, and direct conversation with sales and sales with us, how we can help specifically. And this is something where I'm still surprised that all the possible data sources we can use as a joint pit crew are not fully leveraged. When we started with ABM, and this is really, I have to share it because it was really like a rather entertaining than surprising. We figured out that the quality of our contacts was not really good. And I'm not exaggerating. It was really crap. So in the beginning, we said, okay, stop using Outlook for your customer contacts. Stop using LinkedIn and your brain and whatever business cards. Help us to feed the system directly so that we can start fishing with a spear. Right now, we have our spear, but we are standing in the dark. So what I think is super crucial is that we have joint sources for customer data, and that this customer data is not like a bookshelf with the Encyclopedia Britannica, and we keep this like the Holy Grail. It is something like Wikipedia, right? Everyone can optimize and maintain and put input in and so on to help sales, but also marketing to understand the accounts deeper and deeper and deeper. It's the data intake process, which has to be optimized from my point of view. And I think in every company, we see these challenges. Also, an account plan shouldn't be on PowerPoint and then uploaded somewhere, because that's not actionable data. So I think data has to be also usable for us in marketing to discover where is potential, which is maybe less obvious. And also individual memory. So when the top sales people say, I have everything in my mind, of course, I'm the superhero, right? It's nice, but when this person falls from the chair or leaves the company, all the memory is gone, and we cannot really use it for a joint marketing program or for developing potential. So jointly collecting data, sharing it widely, sharing it openly in our account meetings and planning meetings is, from my point of view, super critical. Also, every intake on org charts, relationship maps, and so on should be not just collected and documented, but also actionable. What I think are we not doing yet, and maybe others might agree, are we asking our customers, how do you want us to do marketing for you? I did recently an interview with someone from a larger company, and he said, yeah, your marketing campaigns, you're right. Yeah, sometimes I get a nice paper, and then I have no time to read it right now, but I put it on a folder where we all look at it, and then I go there and I read it when I have time. So never. So I think it makes sense to really use trade shows and wherever you are or customer meetings, ask them, what is your feedback? What do you think is the right marketing for you? Yeah, how do you want us to approach you? This is just a snapshot how we are doing this. We have one joint platform which is called Know Your Accounts. And in Know Your Accounts, we are collecting all information we have available right now in a structured way. The next step will be to make this really actionable and make segmentations or tangible segmentations out of this. But it shows everything about marketable contacts, engagement, interest, and so the level of demand and everything. With these accounts, we can go for like audiences, so 10, 15, 20 accounts, or also single accounts. And on the left side, you see our 5-quarter rolling pipeline documentation for marketers. And on the lower left side, you see that we are still looking into leads. And the reason for that is delivering leads is one thing, but the pickup and the processing is another thing. And from my point of view, the job of a marketer, and especially in ABM, is not ending with the delivery of a lead. So we have to have a look at who is following up on that. Are they following up on that? How is my pipeline looking like? And maybe do I have to support my BDRs with an optimized content for a follow-up during the opportunity phase? A big wrap up, it's a quick wrap up. You can read that by yourself. From my point of view, independent if you are in a personal relationship, in your marketing and sales relationship, and in a customer relationship, if you want to go long-term, avoid hectic on the short-term results. That's my point of view. And I think sales and marketing are clearly a strong, powerful relationship if you take it right. Thank you very much. And now I'm ready for your questions.
Thank you, Christian. That was awesome. So interesting to hear your journey about ABM and how you built up this process and so forth. So everybody who has questions for Christian, please write in the chat now. And I think we have a lot of things we could discuss, and we have a few minutes. So one question is, what system do you use to make data actionable? Maybe it was this system you showed here in the slide, but do you have any commercial system that you have in your tech stack?
We have a huge tech stack, and for us right now, we are still like with some Adobe tools, of course. Yes, thanks to the main sponsor, but we pay for it. And of course, Marketo, Salesforce, and so on. The tools you have seen is made in Power BI as a consolidation, of course, of many sources. But yes, that's our view on it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Another question here, talking about pitfalls regarding ABM and sales, is there a risk that smaller companies might suffer financially and not recover, while bigger companies will be in a better position to survive such pitfalls?
That's a good question. I think especially when we talk about smaller companies, I think the other relationship between marketing and sales is sometimes a bit more open. We have the risk we have the chance that we are working with many sales colleagues, and of course there is a lot of demand to get individual support from marketing, and this is for me the risk that we are struggling to prioritize. But in smaller teams, I think it's possibly easier to prioritize right.
Okay, well, thank you so much for that, Christian. That's so interesting and learning. I picked up a few nuggets here. I'm sure everybody did. So thank you so much for sharing your insights with us and for taking your time today to participate here.
Thank you too. Thanks for the opportunity.
Have a great day and talk to you soon.
Ciao. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. That was Christian Weiss from Autodesk. And now we're moving on in our program. And I would like to introduce our next speaker. And that is Timo Kohlberg, who's head of product marketing, EMEA, customer journey management at Adobe, our gold sponsor for today. So that is so exciting to have you. Timo is a very, very short introduction here. Timo is the digital marketeer and cross-channel campaign management senior expert focused on creation of superior customer experiences and leading the product marketing in EMEA for customer journeys product portfolio. So that's very interesting job title. Welcome to today's event, Timo.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jacob. Hi, everyone. Great to be here.
Yeah, and so good to have you with us. We're really excited to hear more about this. But you're also based in Germany, as I understood it.
Yes, actually, I mean, it's not Oktoberfest yet, but I'm also based out of Munich. So
wow,
we can meet again in 6 months all together in person, maybe.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, we will like to come definitely in October. But anyway, so stoked about your talk here about how to orchestrate across marketing and sales around the customer journey. So take it away, Timo.
Okay, well, it's always great to start with a great video. So thank you to our marketing using our Creative Cloud tools to bring that together. I actually want to go a little bit deeper than just our Experience Cloud and really talk about the changing B2B customer journey. So what I will show you today is a mix of best practices, customer examples, but also show you some of our latest key innovation and capabilities that actually help you master every B2B customer and buyer journey. So I want to get started with a little statement here. So B2B businesses are actually built on the trust and personal relationships they foster with their customers, right? But as we've all seen over the past 2 years, the hard shift to digital has completely changed how businesses compete to build those customer relationships. It's pretty tough. And in a noisy world where the customers are more self-directed and of course they can access endless amounts of information about you, your brand, your products and services, a personalized experience does much more than just cut through that noise. In my view, personalized experiences really simplify the many times long and complex customer journeys. Sometimes it's months or weeks, sometimes even years, and ultimately make their job more efficient and then also contributing to their success, which is why B2B businesses are being graded by personalized experiences by every customer on how well they actually personalize each engagement, each message, and the entire journey for them. And I would say it's a great opportunity for us as marketers. We are in a pivotal moment for B2B customer experiences, which actually makes right now an incredible time and opportunity for marketers to lead and innovate the next generation of best practices here. So what are the key areas to reimagine B2B customer experiences? Well, there are 3 for us today to focus on as marketers and B2B organizations, and I will walk you through them in my presentation. The 3 pillars of personalized B2B customer journey engagements is data excellence, orchestration agility, and then also marketing and sales coordination. So let's jump right into the first one before losing any time here, and that is data. So probably no surprise, Christian also talked about the data and the setup that they have at Autodesk, but data excellence is the foundation for every personalized experience. And as you can see here, 75% of the efforts to create that personalized engagement will actually not meet the return on investment goals because of inadequate buyer insights. And that's not me saying it, that's actually Forrester research based on their findings. So today, that means bringing together the person, the contact, the whole buying team at a customer, but then also the account context for every single interaction that you have. Sometimes even predicting its impact on things like pipeline and revenue, for example. So what are the challenges here to actually achieve that? There are, a couple of challenges to achieve true B2B customer data excellence. The first one is definitely, the end result, the poor customer experience. Due to data from multiple channels, functional silos within the organizations, B2B organizations, but also different systems. Think of different CRM systems, marketing automation systems that you might be using that can ultimately create redundancy and friction. Also, we're seeing at many B2B organizations and companies a lack of a comprehensive real-time customer profile due to some of the legacy infrastructure and then inability to break down those data silos. And you see broken identities mentioned here. It is challenging to tie a visitor to your website, for example, to an account because you cannot, stitch together those identity information that you might have somewhere in the organization, but that are not centralized and actionable. And lastly, that also results in some of the, over messaging to customers. We're sometimes just sending too many messages and engagement. So there's no control of frequency and governance. So let's put a positive flip around this. What do we need to do to actually address this in today's world? Well, we need very precise targeting that actually enables us to create consistency in every personalized B2B engagement. And that is why we at Adobe built a tailor-made CDP. As you probably all know, CDP stands for Customer Data Platform, that has been built specifically for B2B use cases and is powered by our Adobe Experience Platform. So I want to share a couple of examples what you can actually do with this great application and technology. It allows you to do things like target engaged leads at high value accounts. So these accounts that you actually want to engage with, but that do not yet have an open opportunity, for example. Or another example is initiate a message and offers, sending offers across different channels based on incoming prospect activity on a channel. So in a nutshell, that means, the insight from one channel can be used in any other channel here as well. So who's using and doing this already? Well, working with the leading brands globally, leading B2B brands. The one that I can openly talk about is, of course, our own use on the adobe.com page and website, where this team moved from a 72-hour data refresh cycle to just 14 seconds. And you might ask yourself, why does it take why does it took 72 hours to refresh data? Well, they looked at over 970 million unique profiles. That's quite a lot. So moving from 72 hours to refresh those to 14 seconds, that's really personalization at scale. And we also want to make sure that this customer data platform actually perfectly works with your marketing automation system. So it's specifically optimized for our own marketing automation offering, Adobe Marketo Engage, that Christian already touched on. So you actually have one place for all the engagement activity. And when we talk about data excellence, it's also key to actually understand the impact of every customer interaction on pipeline revenue. And we do need attribution that is also built for B2B. And Marketo Measure is another application that I wanted to quickly walk you through, combining centralized customer data with a market-leading B2B attribution. So that allows you the following. Now you can actually plan your marketing investments with speed and confidence because you know what is working, but also what's not working in your marketing efforts. Plus, it also gives you deep visibility into the drivers of pipeline and revenue across channels and campaigns, down to the individual content or creative that you're actually using. And that means that the entire marketing team can just make faster data-driven decisions. So how's that for data excellence? Well, let's move over to the next section, which is orchestration agility. And orchestration agility means basically, very simply put, that you show up with a context across every channel and adapting to each person's unique journey, not just the account, not just the buying center, but each individual person that you're engaging with. 82% of practitioners actually have recently observed new and changing journeys. That's based on our own Adobe research. And we will see much more as digital and virtual that we focused on in the last couple of months is then intertwined with in-person interactions at every stage of the journey. So what we need to do to enable orchestration agility is actually move away from a very static sales funnel approach to a more agile approach. Why? Well, you see some of the stats on here. The first one is pretty clear, and I think we all see that in our daily businesses, that B2B buyers, B2B organizations have actually less access to the buyer itself today. So buyers spend less time with companies. The majority, up to 80%, now also prefers self-service or, in some cases, remote human interactions. And, we're at the end or out of the pandemic, fortunately, but many actually will not go back and will prefer digital as more efficient. So what are the building blocks of orchestration agility, taking these stats and these figures here into account? Well, with longer sales cycles and more risky, complex purchases, marketing needs to begin building trusted relationships much more early on, and then continuing building them over time with relevant content, consistent cross-channel communications that are then also shared with sales. And I will touch on marketing and sales collaboration in just a minute, along with the customer engagement data in real time. And you probably know that cross-channel has been a huge topic for consumer businesses and B2C marketers for a long time. We're now clearly seeing it's also becoming a key goal for business-to-business marketers and organizations. So what is cross-channel engagement? I want to walk you a little bit through what it is, but also how our customers actually use the capabilities. So cross-channel engagement is basically a full suite of natively integrated channels that our customers can engage their buyers on. And it also helps marketers to extend the reach of their brand and connect with customers on channels they couldn't use before, therefore instantly maximizing their chances of conversions and being more competitive. And it also provides marketers with a full breadth of options to proactively, but also reactively engage their customers. So simply put, as you can see at the top here, cross-channel engagement means engaging with customers on their preferred channel at a specific time. So that preference might change over time. So how do customers use it? Three things. They, first of all, incorporate a full mix of marketing, sales, and paid media channels beyond just email, which is, of course, still an important channel. So they can scale their existing email marketing programs to the next level with more advanced personalization. but then also activate B2B audiences across paid media to discover new and known contexts, for example, via LinkedIn or Google. And they can also optimize their search engine optimization using the insights from their content engagement. So again, one channel informs another channel. Secondly, identifying known and anonymous buyers to maximize top of funnel demand generation. So all of these channels that are talked about and that you see on the left-hand side here are options to help customers maximize demand generation, especially when they can treat anonymous prospects as if they were existing customers, because they know what they're interested in, they know what they look for already. And thirdly, when we talk about cross-channel, of course, we want to connect 4 key things. It's offline and online, but it's also inbound and outbound channels for a seamless experience. So customers can connect paid media to events, for example, events to email, email to web, and even sales engagement. You get where I'm going with this. So all via a single application, ensuring a seamless experience from sales and marketing instead of conflicting, inconsistent, and sometimes confusing messages and experiences for buyers. And I want to give you a concrete example from one of our customers actually doing cross-channel marketing in a B2B context, which is Lenovo. And I think I don't have to tell you what Lenovo does. But Lenovo has been able to leverage Marketo Engage to create a more personalized experience across channels, achieving a large reduction in cost on the agency side because they're much more efficient and automated. They also improved their time to market. What took them 2 weeks before can now be done in less than 4 days. That's a pretty big improvement. And the number of leads, of course, generated was increased by 3 times too. And I want to talk about 2 additional capabilities and things here. One is definitely having your marketing automation application integrated with the rest of your marketing stack. And of course, together with our Adobe Experience Cloud, our marketing automation application, Marketo Engage, can help our customers accelerate their content workflows and also streamline customer engagement. So you see, integrations for content, data and insights and audiences, but also journeys. But a personalized experience is much more about the conversation than just the content itself, right? So I wanted to show you a very recent innovation that we just announced at our Adobe Summit last week, and it's called Dynamic Chat. So to give website visitors the interactive experience they, today expect, our customers are more and more relying on chatbots and also automation. So with Dynamic Chat, you can have personalized customer conversations that actually scale as part of a cross-channel strategy. And you might see this website here. That's an actual customer using this Planon company from Germany, where visitors can book a meeting with sales directly on the website as a self-service function, getting to the next step that actually matters for them, and hopefully also for you and your brand. So that's orchestration agility. As we have a couple of minutes left, I just want to quickly go over to the third pillar that I wanted to touch on, which is marketing and sales coordination. So marketing and sales is, of course, a critical partnership you want working because it should be operationally flawless, but for the customer externally also very seamless. As I said in my opening video that you might have seen, 98% of mature companies believe that marketing and sales actually need to increase their coordination, so better collaboration. That's because in many cases, modern marketing and sales teams engage with target accounts at the very same time. So let's talk through the sales partnership capabilities. So sales partnership is a suite of sales applications, Sales Insight and Sales Connect, that sellers can actually leverage to better understand and engage prospects and customers. The main purpose here is to really help marketers partner with sales to collaborate on content and engagement best practices while also enabling sellers with real-time digital insights and engagement capabilities. So how do customers use it? Well, they use shared sales and marketing customer insights to enable sellers to focus instantly on the hottest leads and opportunities, so those who really matter. They also maximize productivity by guiding sales teams with engagement across channels. So for example, sellers are equipped with a prioritized list directly within their CRM system of tasks to effectively execute their day-to-day routine directly from the sales application. And then also it's a great way of customers actually leveraging and aligning sales and marketing leadership, because it helps drive consistency, best practices by measuring how marketing and sales efforts are actually impacting revenue and learning where interactions work and where things have to be improved. And I quickly wanted to show you one example here of a journey for sales and marketing alignment out of the tech industry from one of our customers, where actually the marketing organization is working hand in hand with the entire account team. So it's not just one sales rep, but it's a complete account team across a long and complex sales cycle, from the first anonymous touch to closing the deal and booking the revenue. And again, like with Lenovo, I wanted to show you a quick example here of joint sales and marketing success coming from the financial services industry, specifically Charles Schwab, which is an asset management and wealth management provider in the US. So they had three objectives. The first one was to personalize interactions and deliver content relevant to each advisor stage in the life cycle. So the financial advisors are actually the ones engaging with the wealth management customers and companies. And secondly, they of course wanted to align marketing and sales to improve acquisition and retention and strengthen the relationships that advisors have with their customers and clients, and then enhance data integrity for better inbound lead generation. You see some of the results here, so I don't have to read them out for you, but really, really great results in terms of pipeline, the nurture programs by marketing, but then also the engagement rates that have been massively improved and optimized. And another capability that we launched recently is actually helping marketing focus on the best leads with predictive lead and account scoring. So again, it's powered by Experience Platform and Adobe Sensei. That's our Adobe AI and machine learning framework. And this gives you the ability to predict the likelihood of a person or an entire account actually becoming a sales opportunity or maybe a new customer. So marketing can also drive higher quality pipeline more efficiently because they focus on the ones that are high conversion likelihood. And lastly, I wanted to quickly show you, a couple of our other customers. We have over 5,000 customers around the globe in nearly every industry and size, as you can see here. And for them, it's really Marketo Engage is really not just another marketing tool in their technology stack, but it's actually helped them to transform their business to become much more customer-centric and orchestrate the B2B buyer journey. And lastly, I want to, a little bit walk you through the key things to address the changing B2B buyer journey. Three things here. Definitely evolution, moving from a batch and blast to a more personalized, timely, and effective customer experience. Innovate with automation and efficiency gains that actually leave room for a marketer to be more creative. And then ultimately just respond to customer needs with the right content at the right time on the right channel. It's very simple, but it sounds very simple, but very hard to do in reality. And lastly, grow pipeline, revenue, and marketing return on investment. So three things I want to walk you away with and keep in mind that I walked you through today to actually help you achieve personalization at scale across every B2B customer journey. I talked about data excellence, which is really the foundation, bringing together the person, the buying team, and the account context for every interaction. And also predicting the impact on the pipeline and revenue. So I talked about the B2B customer data platform, marketing attribution, and predictive lead scoring as capabilities that you can now use. Then orchestration agility, as we see digital, virtual, and of course more and more now in-person interactions again intertwine at every stage of the journey. So we need context across every channel and adapting to each person's unique journey every time. And lastly, marketing and sales coordination is probably the most important one, where we can, it's a critical partnership that we want to work operationally flawless and also externally seamless, because, as I said, modern marketing and sales teams engage with accounts very much at the same time. So you need coordination, you need to have the insights in both areas of the business. With that, I want to say thank you. And if we still have time, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Timo. That was awesome and information-packed presentation. Cool to see all the different best practices and also examples of the tools and the Engage. And absolutely, let's have one or two short questions here. We have one very quick here. Can you use Marketo Engage with other CRM rather than Marketo?
That's a great question. Well, actually, Marketo Engage integrates with the leading CRM systems. So we store the data, but we don't deliver our own CRM system. So you're actually open to use, Microsoft Dynamics, for example, or any other leading CRM system that you want to integrate with.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome to hear. And I think there are all kind of integrations from the Adobe Engage platforms to all kind of CRM platforms there. So definitely interesting to hear. And let's see if there's anything else here. Yeah, and you showed an example there how it's a question around how to do a seamless transition around inbound to outbound and so forth. And I think that slide with the persons there showed that really well. But I suppose the question is how to do that really well and get the seamless handovers to work. Do you have any best practice tips there?
Yeah, I think, when we're looking at, it has two aspects. When we're looking at cross-channel marketing, I think it's key to first do the existing channels really well, right? So move, email marketing up the maturity curve and personalize better, and then extend to other channels that are not just important for your business, but actually where your customers are and that are relevant to you. And then, of course, the marketing and sales collaboration that I touched on is super critical to share the information. If you look at marketing from a marketing perspective, actually sales is another target group and channel for you. So you want to have them the right information, but also get the account insights that they have to optimize your campaigns. So that's my twofold answer.
Thank you. Timo, that was awesome. Thank you for a great presentation. And thank you so much for joining us here this afternoon and sharing your knowledge and insights about customer journeys and the platform, Engage platform. So thank you so much for joining us, and catch you on the October Festival then.
Absolutely. See you in September or October.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, we're moving on.
We are moving on, and the next speaker to present is actually already on the virtual stage. It is the CEO and founder of Bright Vision, as well as event host here today, Jacob Löwenbrand. Jacob is an expert in marketing for tech companies, and he has more than 20 years of experience in helping tech companies to succeed with B2B lead generation processes, focusing on both the inbound side as well as the outbound. And in his presentation today, he will dive into the topic of finding your space in a saturated market. So without further ado, take it away, Jacob.
Well, thank you, Emma. And I will try to share a few insights here. Let's see here. Okay, today I will talk a little bit about finding your space in a saturated market. And that's because today we have more B2B tech brands in tech or SaaS or software than we ever had before. We have a lot of providers today. And why is that? Well, there's a few drivers that are well known, of course, but today it's, from a technical standpoint, easier to develop products than ever before. There's lower thresholds, so to say, to establish a new product, especially a software or SaaS product, than we've seen historically. This is an example of a low code or a no code tool that we see coming to market the last few years, where you actually can develop an app for an iPhone or Android without one single code written. So you can actually just upload and configure your app in a tool without being a developer at all. Now, maybe this is a little bit too basic in order to create a commercial app, so to say, but you see the trend. We're getting closer and closer to where that point is. So it's creating a lot of new products coming to market today. David Cancel, who is CEO of Drift and also was VP of product at HubSpot during the defining years, he says that product-based differentiation is going away. Act accordingly. That's probably something that we need to take into consideration if you're working with product strategies and how to go to market with your solutions and offerings. It's hard to keep up product differentiation for a long term of years, since the development is going really fast. Another trend we see is also that we see a lot of funding going to tech startups. 2021 was a record year from a funding and venture capital perspective. I think 75,000 tech startups was funded around last year with a lot of money. I think the figure was $600 billion in total globally. So it's a lot of money going to funding. But not only the well-funded unicorns and high-profile tech startups, it is getting more and more market share and attention. What we also see the last year is that the bootstraps, SaaS companies especially, but tech companies in all sectors, is also getting up to pace. And like this marketplace for, it's called MicroAcquire, where you can sell or trade or buy SaaS companies, basically, just like the smaller ones that maybe don't have the millions in revenue, but still have a quite good profit and so forth. Just like you sell a restaurant or a 7-Eleven franchise or a mom and pop store and so forth. So we see a commoditization of the technology industry, and we see a lot of companies coming to market. And that is very exciting, of course, but it also creates a crowded marketplace and a more confused marketplace. And it is a problem for us marketeers, since our job is to make our solutions, our companies that we represent and drive the marketing for, to hopefully become the leader in the space we're going after. The target customers, we want to be perceived as the leader in our category because it has so many benefits of us. And one of the key aspects of doing this is to define this core positioning statement. You can probably find this in many marketing books and marketing literature, but I think this statement is really at the core of what we need to define and what we need to state that we are going after and how we would like to be defined as a solution or as a company if we're one single product company. And one thing that we often forget is using, getting leverage on the product to service category. That is a key pick in order to define a product strategy that we think is viable and effective. So I will talk a little bit about that. Category, in many categories, all products belong to categories, and we need to position ourselves into category because that's how buyers think. And if somebody approaches me via email and say, hey, can I have a demo with you? We're a provider of this and that kind of solution. I always put them in a category first. Yeah, what is this? Oh, it's an HR system. Okay, we have already bought one. So not this year, maybe next one. Or if it's a really exciting one, yeah, definitely, we can look into it. Maybe we should switch solution. But I want to have it in a category. And I think most people think like that from a buyer perspective. We need to navigate among all the different offerings out there in the market. And as we know, as our friend Scott Brinker in the Chief Martech, the Chief Martech, Scott Brinker, he have done an excellent job. He is actually going to update his Martech map the 3rd of May this year. Very exciting. The first map coming out in 2 years. But he have tracked down 8,000 vendors into the Martech space, and it's been 5,300 increased competition if you take the whole market. But if we look into different market categories, like the different analysis companies that we do have that help us with that, like Gartner, IDC, but also lately like G2 and Capterra and things like that, you can see that there's a lot of companies in the crowded market of product management software. You can see the providers up there to the upper left, to upper right, sorry about that. And we can see that we can see that we have Asana up to the higher there. And then we can also see that we have some other well-known like ClickUp, we have Monday there, and we have Smartsheet, I think it is, and so forth. But I'm pretty sure most of us don't recognize the majority of the different logos in the middle. It's a really crowded space. So even if we have another category we define ourselves to, like test automation software, that's very much less crowded, but still it's quite a few players in there. We have one very clear leader, very clear category leader in that category called UiPath. And then we have a bunch of challengers and so forth, but it's a less crowded marketplace. So how to define the category is really important. And as we know, based on the science from different studies, the category leader, who typically after a high growth period of a category, receives the 76% of a category market cap. And we typically see that one gorilla emerges after the growth period of a new category, a few chimps and a lot of monkeys, so to say, that share the rest of the market cap of that. So that's why it's so important to try to define which category do we compete in, and how do we compete there, and do we do it in the right way in order to be successful. Another thing that also plays in the market leader's favor is the law of double jeopardy for marketing. The law of double jeopardy is actually a legal expression that means that it shouldn't be able to be convicted twice for the same crime. But in marketing, it actually is a little bit like that, because there have been a lot of studies that says that if you have a lower market share, you not only sell less to fewer buyers, but you also have a lower brand loyalty. Your customers churn out more easily than the market leader actually do. So it's a double bad to being a smaller company fighting in a bigger category. And we can also see that the stability of marketing positions in different categories, and this is pretty much similar when a product category have established itself, the positions don't vary that much over time. It's quite stable. So it's really important to drive your positioning within the right category. And the conclusion is it's not possible to sustainably grow focusing on loyalty alone, especially if you're not the category leader. And B2B growth comes primarily from new client acquisition, expanding your size of your customer base. Also, if you want to go and don't have one of the leading seats in that category. So I will talk a little bit about how you can think about this from a differentiation and product positioning perspective. How can you find more space in your category? Well, you can be better or you can be different. Those are the two basic strategies. And better, that's category alignment. You pick a category that is existing, maybe quite crowded, and you try to be better than the other players there. You can also try to be different and branch out and say, no, we're not this, we're something else. We're creating a new pond that we try to be a big fish in. Or the only fish to start with, at least. So if we break it down, I would say that those three categories of strategy is pretty much the three you can choose from when doing this exercise with your product go-to-market plan. You can either compete for market share, where you challenge the existing category leaders with a better product, more aggressive pricing, better functionality, bigger budgets for marketing and sales, and things like that. You can also carve out a niche, going small within an existing category where you go after a specific persona or so, or you can create a new category, try to branch out and create something unique around that. And I will give you 3 examples, and then you can maybe think a little bit about where are your product and what strategy do you use, and should you pivot or should you just double down on the strategy you're already using. So the first one, compete for market share. You enter a product category, and a product that have done this really successfully in the product management space is Monday.com. It's not an old company. They started out like 2012, and they get traction first in 16, 17, around there. So I'm sure everybody have seen their advertisements on LinkedIn and so forth. They have been really aggressive in their go-to-market strategy. And they, of course, have a really good product as well. And if we see here, their revenue acceleration curve have been extremely fast over the last 4 years. They pretty much had only $4 million in revenue in 2016-17. And last year, when they closed the books, 2021, it's almost somewhere around 236 million. So it's an extremely fast revenue growth. But as you see, they have taken in a lot of financing in order to drive that growth. So they have 375 million in compounded investments in order to be able to drive such an accelerated growth curve. So yeah, it's a high-stake game. A lot of resources needed, but now they are one of the top 3-4 players in the product management, very, very crowded and competitive product category. So if you want to compete for market share, going head on the leaders, so to say, you need to do it with product innovation, brand strength, maybe ecosystem, more partners, more integrations, aggressive or flexible pricing, or things like that. But also have a lot of budget going after that market. Maybe also can say that if you go after the product market, the category leaders, most profitable customers, you're going to war. That's very, very expensive to do that. So maybe if you do that, maybe choosing a little less profitable client segments, maybe they don't care as much if you challenge that part of the market. The other second of being a better solution product strategy is to carve out a market niche, where you niche down and say, yeah, we're a CRM tool, but we're not competing with Salesforce. We're only doing CRM for creative agencies. That's the only thing we do. And we try to be the best solution for just creative agencies. That's a smaller part of a bigger category where you try to specialize, try to have the right partners, the right knowledge, an in-depth problem understanding of those clients' needs and wants and so forth, where you can differentiate yourself. But you also, of course, give away a big potential of the market, but instead trying to be a big fish in a small pond. If we look at an example of a company who have done this quite successfully, it's a Swedish CRM system. This is the CRM market, which is also a crowded market, almost as many players as in the product management system area. And there's a lot of products in the middle there. One of them is called Upsales. It's a CRM system based in Sweden, and they have positioned themselves both from a local perspective. We try to serve Sweden and the Nordics, but especially Sweden, but only focusing on fast-growing companies, scale-ups, or companies that quickly grow their sales organizations or have speed to market as a primary driver. They're not going after companies that have more stability or don't have any urgency of scaling up a sales organization. But for these companies and these use cases, they really try to be the fastest and the best solution that they can invest in from a CRM perspective. That's their edge, and that's what they're doing. And the result is a nicely growing company with a high profitability margin that is doing really, really well. But it will never become a Salesforce or a HubSpot, at least for the coming few years, maybe in a decade. But you understand the difference there. So how to carve out a niche? Find an underserved subsegment problem within a larger category. Position your offering as the best solution for just that specific industry or persona or segment, and try to go really, really deep on knowledge of that specific industry. I think the problem with this is for product and companies to give up potential. It's really, really hard to get companies to do that because everybody wants to have a bigger potential, a bigger upside. But it is a smart strategy. And the last one is create a new category. Creating a new category needs taking a fundamentally differentiated position, doing something else that most never heard of, or thinking in a new way that tilts the marketing position, comparing which makes it hard for the competitors to compare themselves with you and you with them, so to say. Going to give you a small example here as well. This is a company called Gainsight. They pretty much defined this space called customer success software when they went to market. And they have a nice story behind themselves. They started out in 2012 in Silicon Valley. They set out to build some kind of CRM similar solution. But by a coincidence, they stumbled across that a trend, and they saw that a lot of SaaS companies were catching on, putting out job ads called customer success managers. It was originally Salesforce who came up with that position or title, and other software companies caught on in the Bay Area, and they saw, wait a minute, what is this? And they called to a meetup where customer success managers could meet. And at the time, maybe it only was like 150, 200 persons in the whole Bay Area with that title. So they would like to come together and share experiences, share best practices, and share tools. And Gainsight pivoted when they realized there is no really good tool for this area. This is an area where nobody have really defined a product that solves the customer success manager's challenges. So they went all in on that, and they doubled down on building the community for customer success managers. And they built a great company, having a turnover of over $100 million just 6-7 years later, and so forth. And if you want to read more about this story, which is really interesting, there's a book about this written about their original CMO, Anthony Cananda, called Category Creation. Really good book for you if you want to pursue the category creation strategy. Another company is David Cancel and the Drift team that also started in 2014. And they developed a chatbot, and chatbots have been around for 20 years. I remember that we at Bright Vision did a chatbot software, AI-based chatbot software campaign in 2008 or something like that, first time. So it's solution and technology that's been to market for almost 15, 20 years. And they started out in 2014. In 2017, 18, they pivoted their messaging a little bit. And they said, no, we're not a support or answer question chatbot. We are a revenue acceleration platform. And they went all in on solving the sales and marketing use case of using chatbots. And they wrote a book called Conversational Marketing. And they pivoted the narrative and came up with a unique positioning that made all the other chatbot solutions looks like, IT support chatbots. And that was really innovative and did go really well for them. So with that, finding a unique narrative and try to find a story where you can really unique. So what should you do? Ask questions to decide which strategy is best for your product. Are you happy with the growth rate? Fine, don't care. Just do what you do and continue working. But if you're not, maybe you should just analyze what stage of the technology adoption lifecycle is your product category in. Are you in an early market where you're still trying to find firm ground on your feet? Are you in the hyper-growth, the tornado phase, or in the main street, the bit more stable, and there's an established category leader? That depends on how you should act as well. Who are you evaluating against, and who are the most important competitors? And do you see any gaps around them or the market? Is there any underserved industry or subsegment or buyer persona? Or do you have an idea how you can, just as Drift or Gainsight, tilt the narrative around your product or the use cases you can potentially solve or address? And if you want to go creating a new category or take on the category leaders, do you have the resources for it? It costs a lot of money and is quite expensive to do that. So if you don't, go for the niche strategy, I would say. And a way to do that is to develop a few different versions of this product positioning statement, where you put in different IDs and you can iterate them. And after a while, you will come up with a great one that will be possible to build your whole Marcom strategy on. So with that, thank you so much for listening. I hope you can have some ideas around this when you sit down with your product team or marketing team developing your go-to-market plans for the next year.
Thank you very much, Jacob, for that presentation and providing some great insights. I think we have to move on quite shortly, but maybe we have time for one question. Let's see, we have one in the chat here from Kate. Which product strategy is more effective in the long run?
The long run, yeah. Being a product category leader is definitely the long-term positioning you want to have in order to survive. And what often tilts that positioning is new product generations, technology generations, a second generation coming out, the third generation is coming out, and then everything is in motion again, and new positions might be taken in that product category. But if you want to find a really defendable position that don't is risk all, bet the farm, you should definitely try to find a defendable segment that is small enough not to be on the radar of the big companies, but big enough to be really profitable and interesting for your company to go after. So for most companies, a niche strategy is the best to apply. For the risk takers, a new category where you can become the leader, or trying to compete in that race whenever there's a generational technology shift.
Super.
That was a speedy answer. I'll be happy to answer afterwards. So write in the Q&A or chat, and I can write answers after the event or send emails to you. Well, thank you so much for listening in. And we move on, as you say, and I will present our next speaker now. So we're so happy to have Stacy Denheiser with us. Stacy is the founder and chief marketing officer at Shake Marketing Group, a B2B marketing and sales consultancy located in Fort Lauderdale in Florida. A corporate marketeer turned entrepreneur, Stacy spent 15 years working in marketing leadership in different positions in many different industries like telecommunications, financial service industries, and so forth, and have also written a few books. And we will hear more a little bit about that, especially the last book, Standout Marketing, how to differentiate your organization in the sea of sameness, which is really, really interesting and well connected to the things of how to be different. So with that short introduction, so great to have you with us, Stacy.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, how's the weather in Florida these days?
Oh, yes, it's always sunny and beautiful.
Oh.
So no complaints here.
Well, great to hear. So thank you so much for joining us, and we're stoked to hear your content. So take it away, Stacy.
Yes, all right, well, let's get started. So today's topic is, let's stand out in a sea of sameness, 5 key competencies for B2B marketers to master. And I want to just start off by sharing a couple of statistics that I recently came across from Gartner. The first is that 43% of B2B buyers now prefer not to work with a sales rep. What does that mean? I mean, if you think about that, that's almost 50% of B2B buyers who are now going through the purchase journey on their own, and they are left basically consuming the marketing content that we are all creating. And we have to make sure that our content is relevant and that it stands out. The bad news is that buyer's remorse and purchase regret is 23% higher amongst these buyers who do not work with a sales rep. So that's putting even more pressure on marketers to make sure they're answering and anticipating buyers' questions to help them go through that purchase process on their own. So a little bit of context. As mentioned, I co-wrote a book last year called Standout Marketing. And this was based on our research into a phenomenon that we noticed happening across many different industries. And so we conducted some research into the telecom, the data center industry, even higher ed universities in the UK. And we found no matter what industry we looked at, that this problem was happening that we called the sea of sameness. And everybody, we did a scrape of websites and Twitter feeds of the top global companies. And we found that every single company was using the same words, mostly jargon. They were saying the same why us story and the same value proposition. And then third, they were also making lofty promises like, we help you transform your organization. We help your business grow revenue substantially. The problem is there were no proof points. So these were really empty promises. And what happens is buyers see this over and over again. They just get desensitized to the information and they start to question it. So we were really curious about why all of this sameness was happening everywhere. And so we talked with top leaders across the US and the UK primarily in marketing and sales and business leadership. And we found that there were several different reasons for sameness, but I'll share a few of them here. One was inward looking executives and teams. So focused more on the business and not necessarily focused on what's happening outside of your organization. These companies don't do a lot of customer research. They don't do a lot of competitive research. They don't do a lot of market research. They're really just sitting around the table and talking with the product team or the executive team and pontificating about, you know, what they think might be the issue, but nobody's really validating that. The other is that there's a risk aversion to trying something new, especially if you work in an industry where it's been status quo and kind of safe to follow a certain playbook. You know, people are nervous to try something outside of that playbook. And then the third was around a comfort blanket of success. If you've, you know, grown an organization, you're working at a smaller organization or even a scaling organization, and some things have tend to be working like, hey, we give all of our money and attention and time and training to the sales team, but we don't necessarily invest heavily in marketing, or we do everything on, we put a ton of money into ads, but we don't invest in a lot of other forms of content, then you're going to end up with sort of that culture and that pervasiveness of not wanting to try anything new. But the most telling reason we thought was interesting was that it was just pure laziness. Creating differentiation is hard, as was just shared. You know, that's kind of the process that you need to go through on positioning, and a ton of research is involved in that. And organizations are looking for a shortcut. And so primarily, you know, it's, we want to go fast. Let's just copy what the competitors are doing. That seems to be working for them. Maybe that will work for us too. So what I want to focus on for the remainder of this presentation is not necessarily what to do. I think there's a lot of marketing literature, a lot of marketing courses, a lot of marketing presentations on what to do, the marketing fundamentals. But what we were really interested in is how marketers are doing their job. Why was it okay for a marketer to go copy and paste the competitors? What's missing here? And we found that there was a competency gap. And so we came up with this framework that we called the value competency framework. And it's 5 key competencies, and I'll walk through each of these in a minute. Visionary, activator, learner, usefulness, and evaluator. And we loved the acronym of value because it's a reminder that the primary job of a marketer is to uncover value, what your customers care about, to communicate value, and to deliver value. That's really the fundamental job of a marketer. And so this is just a reminder that that we are focused on that and kind of how to develop it. So the difference between skill and competency, just a little academic description here. Skills are what you need to do your job. So that's learning copywriting fundamentals. That's learning how to build a strategy. Competencies, on the other hand, are how you do your job. This is the knowledge and the behaviors that you apply to be successful in your role. So this is more focused sort of on that how-to, as I mentioned. So the first is visionary. This is being able to foresee potential changes in the broader business environment and sharing those insights with customers. What's required to be a visionary is that you're spending time understanding what's happening in the broader market. And we saw some really great examples, you know, in the beginning and early stages of the pandemic, where you had certain companies that quickly changed the messaging on their website, that quickly revamped products and relabeled products to be in alignment and relevant to what customers were wanting and needing at the time. Another really great example in our space is HubSpot. They just launched a HubSpot creators program, bringing creators into their podcast program and basically giving them a platform to go share their podcast and the capital needed to have a successful podcast. But it's interesting because, they're a marketing and sales sort of CRM platform. Why are they investing in creators? And the answer is that they are recognizing, kind of like a Netflix or like Apple, that the content, how can they continue to expand their content library and partner and amplify the creativity and get people to sort of come back and know that this is sponsored by HubSpot. So that's just an example of how this can kind of play out and turn into a product, or even turn into to content. So what's one thing that you can do? And I'd like everybody to just kind of think, some of these marketing advices that we get are really big kind of cultural movements, right? Trying to convince an entire C-suite to make changes, or trying to pull the entire sales organization to gain alignment. But I'd like to just kind of everybody to take a step back and think personally, what can you do as an individual marketer, or what can you do for your marketing team if you're a team leader? And so one of the things that, today really you can do is to seek perspective and seeing things from a different point of view. Where might you have gaps of information? Do you really understand kind of what's happening in the market and how to kind of tie creatively to what might that mean for customers and how to continue to be relevant? Do you really have gaps of information into competitors? As shared kind of at the beginning, when your buyers don't want to work with a sales rep and they're going to your website to try to figure out on their own the difference between you and everybody else in your industry, they you as the marketer really need to understand their point of view and how, and if you're saying the same things as competitors, which is just leaving the buyer extremely confused. So that's something, to look at today is just, go do a quick competitive analysis and see, your product page compared to your competitor's product page and how similar those things are. The next is activator. Now, marketers traditionally rate themselves very high in this one. I coach a lot of marketers and work with scaling organizations to build their marketing function and foundation. And this is a critical skill that not only, when you think of activating, it's all about making it happen, and it's having a really great task list and being able to get stuff done. But the other piece of that is getting buy-in. And that was a fundamental skill that came up time and time again in our interviews, that the most successful marketers spend time creating buy-in. And I think there was a question in the chat from the previous session, how do I convince my leadership team to make a change? And this is really the critical skill of collaboration. This is spending time talking to and interviewing your sales team to understand where they're coming from, talking to the executives and understanding where they're coming from, so that you can kind of piece all of these things together and give people ultimately, what they want. So the action item here is to learn the business. So, do you know how your company makes money? Now, this might seem really obvious, but this is the number one complaint that when I talk to CEOs, that they say, I don't think my marketing team really understands what we're trying to achieve. And so, they're focused on getting leads as an example, but really I'm trying to hit a revenue goal. I'm hitting a profitability goal. I'm trying to reduce our expenses. Those are business goals, and that's what the business cares about. So the piece of advice I would give you here is sit down with your finance person. Do you have somebody who's in finance that you can talk to just walk through how the business is being measured? Do you understand kind of what products are the most profitable, which customer segments are the most profitable? This really gives you a different lens to position your marketing programs and your content through, because it shows that you get it and that you understand the business and what the business is trying to achieve in order to, back to our word here, activate it to achieve those goals. The third is learner. So probably of all the competencies, this one's my favorite. It's, I consider myself to be a lifelong learner, and, congratulations to everybody here, because you guys are showing up and learning something new and doing something for yourself. The number one sort of thing that we heard from a lot of marketing leaders and sales leaders is that learning is important, yes, but people aren't making the time to do it. And marketers are busy, going back to the activator. They have a long list of things to do. They're getting things thrown at them all the time. This piece seems to be more passive, right? It seems like a luxury to go take time to learn. But this is the one sort of critical factor that will catapult your career as well as your relevancy and building programs that are relevant in the market. So, how are you learning about what's happening, changes in your environment? How are you staying in tune with what your customers value? Are you attending sales meetings and sales calls? Are you subscribing to Google alerts for your customers? Are you reading industry publications, not only for your own industry, but also the industry that your customers are operating in, so that you can really understand what's happening and the difference. And this, you could see, ties directly back to visionary. It's very hard to be creative and imaginative and forward thinking if you're not first doing this activity of learning. So, an action item here is to get curious, ask why. And this is something, you've seen probably the quote that says, "We've always done it that way." This is an opportunity to stop and pause and to say, why are we doing it this way? Does this make the most sense? What are we trying to achieve? Instead of just acting and saying yes to everything, just a pause is really important here, to be thoughtful and to be considered, like, that you have a process and that you're trying to be more relevant in both the business and customers. The fourth one is usefulness. So this is differentiating in a way that is relevant, practical, and resonates with customers. The way I like to think about this one is, on one side of the bridge, you have your company and products and what you sell, and on the other side of the bridge is your customers. And marketing's job really is to build the bridge between the two. And the only way that you can really do that is to be useful. So how are you helping your customers along that path? Again, HubSpot, I think, is a great example with their marketing content and the playbooks and these, long form pieces of content and ebooks that they've put together. Ultimately, again, what are they trying to sell? A CRM tool, but they're giving you playbooks on how to build a content marketing strategy, how to do social media and other things that are much, much deeper than just the software, what they're trying to sell. And that's extremely useful to buyers because, of course, they're using this sort of as a resource hub. And when the time comes and the need arises to get a tool, who are they going to think of? The company that's been educating them the whole time. So how to develop, I think, again, going back with that bridge analogy, if you're only living in your organization's world and it's all about the company, it's all about the products, and you don't really understand the other side, which is your customers, the best piece of advice here is to talk to your customers. And this can take many different forms. So, there's one would be surveys. Do you do any customer surveys? Two would be to ask the sales team if you can tag along and attend customer meetings with them. And three would be to listen to recordings of either customer service calls, inside sales, or SDR calls, so that you can have sort of that full picture. And then lastly, you could potentially hire somebody. I do a lot of customer interviews for my clients that they want a neutral person to come in and give them a complete picture of what's happening without that bias of opinions, or sometimes customers feel uncomfortable talking directly to a sales or marketing person, especially if the feedback might be a little bit more negative. So, there's options here, but the point is marketers somehow in B2B have gotten away from the fact that the customer data and customer insights and customer research really informs every single other thing. And in my view, and just personal philosophy, customer research should not be optional. It should be something that's in the budget every single year. And that really it's a way to position yourself. Again, nothing gets you a seat at the table quicker than being the voice of the customer internally and being the representative of the customer internally. When you come to the table and and it's not just an opinion, it's because you've done the research and you have the data, all of a sudden everybody, all heads turn toward you and they're listening. So that would be my one tip here. And then finally is evaluator. So, this is being able to look at what's working and what's not. Evaluating the ongoing success of marketing campaigns and sales campaigns. This is, a complaint that we hear a lot. I have to constantly prove the ROI of my marketing programs. One of the keys to success here is to discuss ahead of time, what are those KPIs and what are those metrics that you really want to look at and that you're going to report on a regular basis. Going back to getting buy-in, this is a stage to say, look, we have a process. We're not going to just go execute flavor of the day because the CEO wants us to go build a podcast. What I have found is that the CEO or non-marketers, let's say, have no idea how much work is required to really build a high functioning and results-oriented marketing program. People think it's like a switch that you can just turn on or off. And the reality is, as we all know, these things take time, and marketing is more of a long game. So having sort of this evaluator mindset gives you an opportunity to figure out, is this even worth it? Do we want to do this or not? And then on the back end, be able to say, look, we tried that thing and it didn't work, or we tried that thing and it worked. We're going to go more all in on that. So how to develop this is you can start with a question, and this is really good to do sort of after a project or initiative, after a campaign or after an event, what happened during the event? So what does this mean, for our business? And then now what? Do we want to keep going, or do we want to make some changes? So I know I rushed through those really quickly. It's a rapid fire here. We have a whole entire book all about this concept. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a flavor. And just to kind of recap the 5 competencies: visionary, activator, learner, usefulness, and evaluator. And I think we have a polling question here of, I would just be curious, for yourself and your team, which of these competencies do you think is your biggest opportunity to develop? So if everybody could answer that would be awesome. And then, if you want additional tools and frameworks, we have a ton of exercises in the book, Standout Marketing. It's available on Amazon and some other websites. It's published through Kogan Page, so it's on their website. And then we are in the process of beta testing a brand new self-assessment that you and your team can fill out to determine where might you have gaps on your team. So we have, I think there's a link if you want to get on the list, the mailing list for that. We will notify you. It's going to be ready here shortly, and would love to bring some insight there, so that as you're thinking about how to take your career to the next level, or how to hire potential people on your team to fill those gaps, this will give you really a window into, well, what are those gaps and what do you need the most of? And then finally, I am hosting a online community just for B2B marketers who want to gain more credibility, who want to earn a seat at the table, who want to be seen as a more strategic and thoughtful leader. So I invite you to join us. It's a free community, and we do webinar events and all around sort of that strategy lens of getting you guys more credibility. So it's soarmarketing.club/soar. So with that, I'll take any questions if there are any. Is that
Emma?
Emily? Or Emma? She might be on mute.
I think you're on mute, Emma. Okay. Something is not working. We can't hear you, Emma.
Okay.
Anyway, okay. Something is.
Okay. Yes. So let's see. I'll look at maybe the.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you so much. That was awesome. And let's see if we have time for a few questions here. How can we buy your book, Stacy? Well, that's a quick question.
Yes. So it's on Amazon. If you just look at Standout Marketing, And I think you shared the link maybe in here.
Oh yeah.
I'm not sure
Okay.
what button to
Perfect.
click on to
Yeah.
get
Another
to the
one is,
link.
yeah,
Okay.
if you have and yeah, we send it in the email so everybody can have that. Have you noticed any changes since you wrote the book when it comes to how to stand out in a sea of sameness and these competences you talk about there? Have anything changed since the last time you looked into this research?
Yeah, so no, not necessarily. In fact, this book was launched right before the pandemic. And so it was really interesting timing because it just kind of validated, wow, and we saw some of these competencies come to life that companies, you could clearly see the ones that were visionaries and were quick to respond. You could see the ones that were really good at creating, usefulness. And so it sort of it just brought to life that, again, we're really interested in how you're doing your job, and that this, equipping you with tools that will get you through any market condition, if it's up or if it's down or if it's sideways, that these are things that can make an impact. I mean, I think we did see, definitely, if you guys recall, during the pandemic, that the sea of sameness was magnified, right? You got these emails that says, we care about you. And the first one or two, you were like, oh, that's so nice. This company that I haven't heard from a while, like, they're all of a sudden caring about me. But then you got 50 or 100 or 150 of these because everybody just started copying everyone, right?
Yeah.
So it's I think it's definitely happening as well, like in the marketing playbook space. I think everybody's always looking for best practices, right? And so, everybody's doing ads. Okay, now everybody's, their CEO needs to be on LinkedIn. Okay, now everybody needs to be on TikTok. And the reality is, I mean, my philosophy of marketing always has and will be that there is no one size fits all. It's customized to your company, to your situation, to your market, to your competitive landscape, and mostly to your customers. What do they care about and what do they value, and how do you really want to stand out in their eyes? And that's the piece that people, I think, have lost sight of. It's not just standing out to to gain a little bit of attention. It's really standing out so that you can make a sale and so that you can add value in your customer's world, right? So being able to kind of have that perspective that you got to do some stuff that's different. And, I think it was Gary Vee's line that marketers ruin everything, because once somebody figures out something that works, now everybody rushes to go do it. And then all of a sudden it's not effective anymore. And that's always going to be the case for marketers. So, be at the forefront of that and be willing to try something new in the form of pilot projects, or, working with creative agencies, maybe outside of your industry norm, and hiring talent that's not just always people from your own industry. And that brings a fresh kind of perspective.
That's a great comment, and thank you so much for that. And I totally agree. Let's call everybody to be brave marketeers and try new things, doing things differently, and push the frontiers of what's been done in your industry. So that's
Love
so
it.
cool. Yeah. Well, thank you so
All right,
much.
well, thank
Stacey.
you.
That
Yes,
was
thanks for
awesome.
having me.
Yeah. Have a great day. Catch you later.
All right, thank you.
That was awesome. A sea of sameness. And now, friends, we are moving on to another thought leader in the industry. And I'm so happy to announce that our next speaker is Debbie Gagish, who's a chief strategy officer and principal at the Pedowitz Group, and very exciting consulting company that I've been following their content in marketing automation and all these kind of things for 15 years. And it's so cool to have you with us here today, Debbie. So thank you so much for joining us. Let's see if your sound is working, Debbie. I can't hear you. Let's see if Debbie's sound can get to work there. Well, I can also say that Debbie is a well-known author and speaker, and is producing books. She have written a really classic called Rise of the Revenue Marketeer a few years back. and her latest book is From Backroom to Boardroom, Earn Your Seat with Strategic Marketing Operations. So, and we'll talk about digital transformation today, turn strategy into action. So let's see where she went. If she have her, if she can get into the speaker room. Hi, Debbie. Let's see. I still can't hear you. I think you're on. You're not muted, but for some reason the microphone is not picking up. Okay, let's try again. Do you have another microphone you can try, Debbie? Okay, we give it the last try here. Hello, Debbie. How's it going? No, it's not working. Okay. Hello. How's it going, Debbie? Do you get it to work? Yeah, if you have a headphone, maybe you can plug it in. Okay. I know it's hard. Okay. Maybe while Debbie tries to get her. Do you have a headphone there, Debbie, so you can plug in? Or okay, we do have a plan B if it's not working. Give it 30 more seconds. Still not working, Debbie? No, okay. Maybe we can record your session and send it out afterwards, and we'll try to share your content in another way.
Yeah.
Yeah, now it's working.
It's working?
Yeah,
it's working. I just kept, oh, so sorry. I kept playing with my speaker, so I apologize, everybody. So, I had to give you a break, right? It's time to go get a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, maybe a beer, right? It's time for that, right?
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for giving us a coffee break. That was
awesome.
Awesome.
You're so welcome. I'm just here to give, right? Yeah. I'm just here to give. So anyways.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for calling in also from Florida today, isn't it?
I'm actually looking at the Gulf of Mexico right there. My office is up on the second floor of my house, and all I can see is water. And I have a little bell here, so when we see dolphins, we ring the bell.
Wow. Well, awesome. And great that we've got it to work. So now we're so excited to hear your content today about digital transformation and how to turn strategy into action.
Yes.
So take it away, Debbie.
Thank you so much. And if there's anything I'm about, it is totally about action. So again, very excited to be with you guys today. I'm going to try to keep this very high energy. I know it's in the afternoon. 3 o'clock is like I call my dead zone. I typically have zero energy that time of day. So I know you would like to have a speaker that's going to kind of get you up and going and kind of, get you thinking. So that's what we're going to try to do this afternoon. So I am the Chief Strategy Officer and a partner at the Pedowitz Group, and I have the best job in the world because what I get to do is to go out and work with companies around the globe and just find out the really cool things that they're doing. And then from there, I create IP, I write books, I publish, I speak, so I'm always have a front row seat to anything that's going on. And today we're going to talk a little bit about my book called Backroom to Boardroom, which is going to be free to you guys, right? And how the role that plays in digital transformation. So let's go. Okay, so let's talk about digital transformation. And when I hear the term digital transformation, it's like hearing, Debbie, we can't hear you. It's like this ubiquitous term that has been floating around, and post-pandemic, that's all anybody wants to talk about is digital transformation. But we're going to make it really simple for you guys and then give you some very strong actions to take. Definition: it is the process of using digital technologies to change how business gets done in all areas of the company. Now, it is unapologetically customer centric. So if you think this is all about IT, you would be 100% incorrect. It is about creating new business models. It's not using a sophisticated marketing automation system just to do more email. And it is disruptive. So one of the things that I see in marketing is marketers have an incredible appetite for change. And so digital transformation is a perfect thing for them to be doing. Digital transformation is not, again, an IT project. It is not a single departmental initiative, and it is not one size fits all. So given that definition, what does this mean for marketing? How does marketing succeed in driving digital transformation? How does marketing move from strategy to action? The secret sauce is your strategic marketing operations organization. So everybody's going to get a free copy of my book. It was just published, I think this time a year ago. It was published by Forbes. The forward is by Scott Brinker, who is of MarTech fame. And what I think is so great about the book is that I interviewed 26 executives just to find out what the heck they were doing. So this is filled with their stories and also with their experience. And again, you guys are all going to get a free copy of this. So when I think about marketers and when I think about digital transformation, when I think about changing how business gets done, it is the strategic marketing operations organization that is essential for marketers to be successful when it comes to digital transformation. So let's talk about marketing operations, and then let's talk about marketing operations and at a strategic level. And I was listening to the prior speaker. She was outstanding, by the way, and I'm going to weave in some of the things that she talked about. First of all, marketing operations is a distinct capability. If someone leaves your organization and your marketing ops walks out the door, you don't have a capability. Totally driven by strategy, operationalized through people, process, technology, and data. And a capability always delivers a business result. That is key. I love all these comments, by the way, coming in. Kate, thank you for the energy. I'm a highly caffeinated person, so I do like to have a lot of energy. So when we think about your standard marketing ops, it really is about to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of marketing. That's what your basic marketing ops is. I find that a basic marketing ops organization is typically more reactive in terms of strategy, but it serves a core and very important function for marketing. Now, let's take a look at the difference between marketing organization and a strategic marketing organization. A strategic marketing operations is characterized by leadership, by vision, by cross-functional value creation, and transformation through operations. A strategic marketing ops organization runs marketing like a business. In this kind of organization, they are more than button pushers and techies. A strategic marketing ops function is instrumental in transforming marketing into a revenue and growth engine for a company. And you can talk about all the technology in the world that you want to talk about. You can talk about digital transformation until the cows come home. But at the end of the day, what marketing is accountable for is revenue. And it is this marketing operations organization that helps marketing use these technologies to transform how business gets done, including how revenue gets done. So if you have, how many people have a marketing ops organization today? Just say yes in the chat. If you have a marketing operations organization today, just type yes in the chat. I want to see how many folks actually have one. And I'm not seeing anything in the chat. Maybe my chat's not working. Okay. Here's the thing about marketing ops. Even if you have a marketing ops, whether it's distributed capability or a concrete capability, you need to move from being the button pushers in the company to business leaders. You need to move from being tech geeks to digital visionaries. You need to move from being data driven to insights obsessed. You need to move from business as usual to being change agents. You need to move from being that hiring manager to a team skill builder. And you need to move from being siloed to being a cross-functional collaborator. That's a big ask, but yet we see successful strategic marketing operations organizations. This is their profile. And thank you for all the yeses. So I have been doing research around marketing operations probably since around 2010, 2011. And I'm very a research-based person. I got my doctorate degree in 2018. You know, I like to study both on the academic and on the business side. And to me, everything is basically a model, right? I see things in terms of maturity models. My first book had a revenue marketing journey and how you go from being, you know, the pens and mugs department to a revenue marketing organization. And likewise with this book, I took a look at how companies were moving through a maturity cycle to become a strategic marketing operations organization. And again, the book is filled with stories, pictures. I've just got a workbook. It's just got everything to go with it. But it's around these types of stages of a marketing ops maturity. And I did keep unaware. Let me tell you a story why. I was recently talking, this was right before the book was written. I was talking to a CMO of $1 billion organization. We were having lunch. And I knew he was a brand guy. I knew that. And I said, well, you know, I said, tell me about, you know, do you have a marketing ops organization? Honest to God, he looked at me straight in the eye and he said, you know, I've heard about this marketing ops thing. I just like, okay, I don't know how much business we can actually do to one another. So there are organizations that are unaware of the value of marketing ops, okay? So from there, when I see an organization that is beginning to adopt marketing ops and go from being a distributed capability to a dedicated capability. In those first stages, we see a lot of excitement. You know, it's all about the technology. It's all about how can we be efficient? That means do things very well. Or how can we be more effective? And that means, are we doing the right things? So when marketing ops goes through that efficient and effective stage, it builds this incredible foundation for moving into the next stages. And the next stage is all about get revenue. And when you move into that get revenue stage, you're actually moving into what we call the strategic capability area, because it's pretty darn strategic for marketing to be all about revenue. And this is where marketing begins to use the power of the technology that they have, you know, to create those MQLs, to improve conversion rates. And, you know, the best revenue marketing companies that I work with, you know, they're contributing 60, 70% of the pipeline, whether that's net new or whether that's overall. But there's a big shift. And again, marketers can't successfully implement that get revenue stage if they don't have that foundation, if they don't have marketing operations. And I'll tell you a funny story. When I was writing my dissertation when you write a dissertation, you have to have a problem. And the problem has to be defined in academics, right? And so my problem that I found was that marketers are drowning in revenue enabling technology, yet only a third of B2B CMOs report any financial results. Well, it took me 3 years to write that dissertation. And I was so scared that during that time, that gap would close. It has not closed, right? So this get revenue stage is still very important, using that foundation of efficient and effective. From get revenue, it's all about being customer centric. And the prior speaker spoke about that. Customer centricity is everything in an organization. Absolutely everything. You need to turn your entire organization upside down, put a picture of the customer in the middle of everything that you do, and you need to redo technology. You need to redo processes. You need to redo org structures, because it's those companies who are going to win in the digital economy. And the next stage for marketing ops really is what we call revenue ops. And that's where you take marketing ops, sales ops, and customer success ops, and you put them into a single organization. And that's another topic, but it creates an incredible line of sight to the customer. And organizations who are agile enough to create that rev ops organization have a much higher rate of revenue, and they're much more competitive in the market. Okay. So the book talks about that. It talks about skills. It talks about, the stories, all those kinds of things. But I wanted to give you guys a couple of case studies, because I want to make this real for you guys. Okay. And so I have a couple, and then I can also talk about a couple more. And I think I'm supposed to go until a quarter after the hour. And so, Jacob, can I get a few extra minutes? If not, that's fine. I understand, because we started late, but you just let me know.
Absolutely, no worries. You can take a few extra.
Okay, fantastic,
Okay,
fantastic.
good.
So let me tell you guys about Dan Brown. He's one of my favorite people. And Dan is actually here. He's in Atlanta, Georgia. And Dan has been VP of Marketing Operations at Verint for many years. And he's just like, he's the guy. He is absolutely the guy. Yeah, I know, Camilla. Customer centricity comes out late in the diagram. And, in a lot of ways, it should come much earlier. I like that comment. And I'm actually thinking about changing that. So it's not that this is how they typically go, right? It's not that it's the right way to go. It's just kind of how I see people going. So, but that's a great question. All right, back to Dan. So Dan's had a marketing operations organization, and his charter is to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of marketing ops to enable marketing in the company to obtain stated goals. That was his charter in, I think, around 2018, maybe 2018. In 2019, his charter changed a little bit, and it also he added on customer centricity. And he had wanted to be customer centric for quite some time, but he was working in a product focused company. So it was very difficult for him to do that. But, he reported into the CMO. Dan was the VP of marketing ops. He had a director, he had a marketing automation manager, because in this particular marketing ops organization, they created all the campaigns, not the strategy part, but they actually did all the development and implementation in the technology. He had a VP of analytics, and he also had a senior analyst for marketing collaboration, which I think is one of the most unique roles that I've heard in marketing operations. And let me tell you why this role is so important. Marketing ops is kind of like Switzerland, right? They sit in the middle of all of this activity that goes on. And a lot of times they are the purveyor of information or gathering the information. They kind of bring a credibility and a calmness to some of the infighting, that happens within organizations. So having someone who was in charge of cross-functional collaboration, I thought was just an absolutely brilliant move on Dan's part, just absolutely brilliant. So in Dan, I got to tell you guys one more story, and I think you'll appreciate this. And this is a story about talent. So every year, and probably been doing this for about 11 years now, I teach a class at the College of William and Mary, which is the second oldest university here in the United States. And it's always about revenue marketing. And a few years ago, I began to talk about marketing operations as well. And I always like to bring additional speakers with me, practitioners. And so the first year that I talked about marketing ops, I brought Dan. Dan had a fantastic presentation. He was teaching these MBA students, what does a marketing operations organization look like? What is its roles and responsibilities? It was just a brilliant presentation. And of course, they're all sitting there, they're blown away because you guys know, I don't care if you're in Europe, Asia Pac, US, nobody teaches this stuff at the college level, at least not to any degree. And so at the end of his talk, one very enterprising MBA student raises his hand and he says, Mr. Brown, he said, this is fascinating. I would love to have a career in marketing operations. How do I get a job working for you? And Dan looked at the whole class and he said, well, I wouldn't hire any of you. And you could have heard a pin drop in the room. But his comment was, it takes such a skill level to work in marketing ops. And as you guys know, the skill levels are going up and the war for talent is absolutely positively raging right now. I'm doing a webinar with Howie Education in June, and they actually train marketing operations professionals. And we just did a study on the talent. And again, the talent needs are going up. We got to find those purple unicorns to work in our companies, yet the supply is here and, the price for that talent is also going way up. So Dan's been a consummate professional for many years in the marketing operations, and he makes it look easy when in fact it really is not easy. Now, let's talk about a really innovative company. And this is my good friend, Alex Simoes, and he works for Cisco Labs. And Cisco Labs is really moving from the customer to the next gen. And really, they've created a RevOps organization. But listen to his charter. I just get chills every time I see it. Their charter within this marketing ops, RevOps organization is to reimagine food service through innovation. The BE, that's Business Enablement Team Charter, is to enable customer-facing employees, that's sales, customer success, and marketing, with the tools they need to be efficient and effective in their day-to-day, and to create that golden thread between all customer initiatives. One of the things that I see a lot with organizations that have moved to that RevOps stage, which is like the ultimate marketing ops, and again, it's when you combine sales, marketing, and customer success ops, is the number one driver for that is the maniacal need that companies have to get one view of the customer and to have one data set and to ensure that regardless of where that customer is touching your organization, it is a flawless experience. And so in Alex's company, and again, he started out as a regular marketing ops organization. He went from marketing ops, and then they took marketing and they took sales ops, and they put those two things together. So that was an early kind of RevOps. And then they went all in and they did sales, customer success, and also marketing ops. And in his company, he's got he calls them enablement. They have support and training. But the other really interesting thing about what they do is they don't write any copy, but they ensure that messaging and content is all flawlessly connected, right? So again, they're kind of like a governance group to make sure that how they're interacting with the company is exactly the way that you should be interacting with the company. So just an amazing, and I have so many more stories, but I just thought I would just show you guys these two today. And again, a lot of those stories are in the book, which again, free copy. Okay, so next steps. If you are interested in evolving your marketing ops organization to the next level, I do have a workbook that I created that accompanies the book. And you can see there's a URL here. And I also know that when in the follow-up email, you will also be getting those links. And so you can get a free copy of the book, and you can also get a free copy of the workbook. And those two things kind of go hand in hand with one another. Okay, so I've gone 3 minutes over, but I would love to take your questions and your comments if we have just maybe 2 more minutes, Jacob.
Absolutely. And thank you so much, Debbie. That was awesome to hear your presentation there, and so exciting to hear about your stories.
So
Read on.
let's see, we've got one. Would you say that current events in the world are making both clients and companies more apprehensive, more careful, and less risk-taking when it comes to setting new strategies and action plans? I'm actually seeing quite the opposite. And again, my daughter works for a company and they have over 200 employees that are actually in Russia and a lot more that are over in that particular part of the world. And I know it's incredibly, incredibly difficult. But I would say this, I think that the pandemic has opened the eyes of many executives, and they know they cannot just sit back and pretend that they don't know that the world has changed any longer. Digital transformation and the focus on digital transformation has reached extraordinary heights of importance in organizations, as well as the role of marketing has emerged from all of this as being incredibly important. So I see that companies are understanding that they actually have to take more risk, not less risk. Great question. Thank you. Anybody else? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we have one more there. I find extremely interesting. How come customer-centric comes so late in the diagram, or is it not a timeline?
You know, and I got to tell you, I've done that model a couple of different ways, and it really is kind of how I see companies go. And that customer centricity, and if I had created this after the pandemic, I would change that. And to your point, Camilla, I may go back in and change it now. But prior to the pandemic, while marketing wanted to be customer centric, most organizations were having a really hard time pivoting from being product focused to customer centric. And so this was the practical way to take a look at that. But you've really given me something to think about, and I think I'm going to go back and redo it. So thank you.
Great. Well, thank you, Debbie. That was awesome. A really inspiring lecture you had there for us. So thank you so much. I think
you guys have a great rest of the show, and thank you for having me. Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a great day. Okay, we're moving on to our last speaker, and I'm happy to present Maureen Blandford as our next one, and also our final act here today at the B2B Tech Marketing Day here. And you're the managing director of B2B Unleashed, and working with a lot of things there, helping clients and companies being better in B2B marketing. And with that very short introduction, so great to have you with us, Maureen.
Thanks for having me. I'm delighted to be here. It's been a great day so far. So much energy. So it's after our last speaker, I don't have to apologize for my sort of American enthusiasm, obviously.
Oh, absolutely not. We're looking forward to it.
Excellent.
On the contrary. So so good to have you with us. And you're calling in from, is it?
Chicago today.
Oh, great to have you with us from Chicago.
Thank you.
Lovely city. I studied there for half a year. So
it's a great American city. Absolutely. Unfortunately, it's snowing today, but spring will get here sometime.
Whatever. Well, thank you so much for participating here, and take it away. Looking forward to hear your story.
Perfect. All right. Thanks so much. Delighted to be here. These silent killers are near and dear to my heart. In B2B, I think we've made so much progress in kind of the big rock content that we do. But the in-betweeners, or what I often call as the interstitials, they can really, really harm our conversion rates. So let's dig right in. Happy to hear any questions. I'm going to start my timer to help me. So why is this so suboptimal? I would argue, even with how great so much of the tech is and so much of the tech that's available to us, I think we've kind of lost our way in automation and scale and fake personalization. The tech companies, the tech marketplace has really oversold us on the potential and has been less than transparent about all of the challenges, particularly the integration challenges that take up so much of our time. And in marketing, although we're focusing on marketing today, marketing is not the only one struggling with this. So our sales peers are struggling with a similar situation. HR, if you've interviewed or been recruited for a role recently, you know how suboptimal the tech is in the HR space. But so it's not just in marketing. I always want people to know that they're not alone. So we kind of lost our way with the over promising in tech, and I'd argue that we're not thinking enough about the humans and the messages that we need to be crafting to reach them. So how are we doing on emails and voice scripts and ads, just to name a few? And I'll go into more details on that in a few minutes. But how are we doing there? I'd argue that we're not doing great. So let's kind of talk about what we need to be paying attention to and how we can be doing that better. So a few months ago, I asked my posse on Twitter, of all the sales outreach that touches you in a week via any and all of the channels, what % is compelling? And everyone said 5% or less. And I even got mocked a little bit for not giving them an option of saying 0%. So a couple of points about this. How crazy is it that with all the tech that's available to us, we are globally still really underperforming here? I'd also argue that this cannot be laid at the feet of sales organizations exclusively. In fact, I think that they probably own less responsibility there than marketing, who's often writing a lot of this, and sales enablement. And we've really kind of failed selling organizations as a whole because of the work here. And again, this is a global issue. This is, no one is slaying here. I have a blog on this called "We Have Failed Our Salespeople" that gives you a little more detail on that, but I'll keep moving on. So messaging, I think, is the trickiest insight to work towards and understand, and here are some reasons why. Our inboxes are full of nutso sales messaging. So all of us probably on this call today are buying somewhere. And so we're recipients of sales messaging. So this has to resonate for most of us, whether it's emails that we're getting or phone calls from salespeople, or heaven help us, LinkedIn in-mail messages. I mean, terrible, terrible messaging. And we really have to think about that, because at each touch point, if the messaging isn't good, we're losing people who had converted previously. So anyway, ads targeting us, ridiculously bad. And again, noticing this to be aware of what is sort of the community that we're communicating out into and what are the other messages they're receiving. So ads, whether you've bought golf clubs or some shoes recently, and that ad follows you around via retargeting, or one of my favorite things to point out for years has been, when is the last time you were targeted for a job via an ad that was actually relevant to you? And when you think about a platform like LinkedIn that has so much information on all of us, the fact that LinkedIn isn't targeting us for those things where it actually works is compelling to me. The cool kids, so like the big boys with big budgets like Salesforce and Slack, they're not doing much better. This is a global issue. Are any of us performing ahead of the curve? What even is the curve? And then I would argue that channel and asset performance, when we're looking at how well we've done, when we're building hypotheses and looking at how well we've done, that is unclear without a message audit. So I'm going to spend some time talking about how we can do messaging audits today to make sure that we're converting better overall, even with just the proliferation of tech that we have supporting us. So in auditing, here are some recommendations. So I would really love all of you, whether you're internal at an organization or you're at a marketing agency. So if you're at a marketing agency, I'd love for y'all to do this for your clients and your prospects, for your own insights, to do a message audit from above the funnel to hand over to sales. And then just a tip is, if you're not familiar with moat.com already, that is one of my favorite places to go to look at ads that just exist in the world. So you can search any company, and if they're doing digital advertising, you'll likely see their ads there. So you can see your ads, you can see your competition's ads. And I like going to moat.com also for inspiration. In case a company is actually doing some good work, I can get some inspiration from that and see how are they crafting their message in a very little amount of space, using few words to be compelling to get people to convert. Yes, and I will come back to to that question. So the things that I'd like to see us audit are ads, SEO targets and results, marketing mails, landing pages, thank you pages. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Bot language. When is the last time any of us have interacted with a bot where we actually felt like that was human in any way? We have so much room to grow there. From a message perspective, I think the tech is getting better and better with bots, but the message is really, really challenging. Sales emails, sales verbal scripts, DQ reasons. You know, what else in your buyer's journey are those in-between bits of content where you could be performing better to get people to move from this point to this point to this point and not lose them along the way? All right, speaking of moat.com, we're going to pick on Salesforce a little bit, partly because we can, partly because their feelings won't be hurt, and just they're huge, this won't impact them. But most importantly, most of us are not Salesforce. So I think it's really helpful for us to see that even an organization as big as Salesforce, with the tremendous resources that they have, humans and tech and dollars to spend, that they're challenged with this as well. So this is a screenshot, moat.com, just a sampling of some Salesforce ads. And just let's take a look to see how undifferentiated these are. If this wasn't Salesforce, would you, as a prospect, click on these ads? So get more from digital. You know, that could be Salesforce, it could be a competitor, it could be a digital marketing agency. It's really not differentiated. Over on the right side, how to change the way you think about customers, get the playbook. You know, if that was your company or your client, would a prospect click on that ad? So this is where I think it's really valuable to look at these. You know, and you can go to your graphic design folks and have them. You don't have to go to moat.com for yourself, but you can for your competitors. I think it's really helpful to look at this and think about, you know, ads generally get trashed in both B2B and B2C, but ads don't perform very well. And we spend a lot of time looking at the machinations or the targeting, how much we're spending, cost per acquisition. And what I see teams rarely do is actually look at the messaging in its, you know, native environment and think about, will this message get someone to convert? And that's in any of these audit touch points that I've talked about. So that's ads, and I love for us to look at those. Okay, hopefully you all can see this. So here's a Salesforce follow-up email I got after I registered for something. And I'll tell you that when I register for content, I always give my actual credentials. I have no judgment if anyone doesn't want to do that, but I also don't, I kind of feel like that's the price I pay for good content. And if I'm going to download something, I already think it's probably pretty good. So people have my real information. So here's a follow-up email I got from Salesforce. Permit me to do a dramatic reading. So subject header, contact me form, exclamation point. Hi, Maureen, personalization. Hi, Maureen. And then the rest of it. I saw that you recently signed up for a contact me form from Salesforce. First of all, no, I did not. And how is this stuff getting through the cracks? And I'm sure this has to resonate for you all because you are also the recipients of sales emails every day. The second two sentences on this email are so generic that even though they think they're personalizing, so I'm sure that hi Maureen is what they consider personalization, I would feel more personalized towards, I'm not sure if that's a sentence, if they said hiya or hi there, or didn't even use my name, but the next sentence or two related to me and my persona, you know, could have been, you know, I know you struggle with integration leaks in your tech stack, and that must really impact how your organization performs. I'd love to talk with you about how we could XYZ. So even though they could send that type of email, those types of words to anyone who fit my persona, it would feel personalized to me because it's a pain point that they understand that I have. But instead, the messaging in these in-betweener pieces of content tends to be, the world over, super generic and just not resonant. So please let me know. I'm sure that your emails might not be this bad. They're probably not great because, again, we struggle in this area, but let me know if that resonates for you. Okay, so here's a webinar that I registered for with Salesforce that had an analyst that I really wanted to hear. So it was a piece of content that would have been very memorable for me, whereas a lot of us, when we're registering for things, maybe we forget about it later on. But so many missed opportunities in this kind of thank you or follow-up email. So subject header, thank you for registering. All of this real estate, I don't know if you can see my cursor or not, but all of this real estate at the top of the email, thank you for registering. Hi, Maureen, personalization. Thank you for registering. So they have 3 message points here where they could be compelling to me to get me to show up to the webinar once I've registered, and they're missing each one of those opportunities. Now, it's good that they have, the title of the webinar there, and that helps me remember it as a prospect. But something even more compelling in these types of emails would be to remind me of what my pain point is and why I'd want to show up for this. Because ultimately, we've got 3 opportunities here where we can convert someone and lose them. So getting someone to register for a webinar, getting someone to show up to the webinar or look at the archive. And then ideally, we've done our job there with the communication touch points and the webinar itself, that the prospect is willing to take a call from the salesperson. So in looking at sort of the details of conversions from that perspective, when often teams just don't have time because of everything else on our plate to look at this, and I just want us prioritizing it more. But this is where we really lose people and they drop out of our funnel. Okay, happy to answer any questions. I'm going to come back to this one in the chat. Here's another example of a landing page. Again, wasted opportunities, super generic. I had to register for this event in the last role that I was at. If I didn't have to register for this event, I would not have registered for this event because this could not be less compelling than it is here. So nonprofit summit, okay, that's fair enough. Headline down here, nonprofit event of the year. And then the rest of this is really generic, Salesforce stuff where it's going to be a great event. You love all our events. You love our speakers. You love our content. We bring industry experts. But again, nothing specific to me. And I would argue that this could be used for any Salesforce event anywhere, or anyone else could use this language for their event. It's just not compelling. It's not resonant for me. I don't care. And again, we'll get some people with this, but how many more people could we keep engaging with us if we were ourselves compelling at each touch point? I get really excited about this stuff. So much opportunity to be doing better on conversions. And then I get a thank you for registering. So I don't think as B2B marketers that we ever really need to thank people for registering for something. I think that's wasted word real estate. The companies that we represent, by and large, are providing really solid offers to the market. And marketing teams, by and large, are providing great educational content that is valuable to the people that we're marketing to. So I think at times we could almost err on sort of a mindset of a little bit, we're doing you this favor because we care. We want you to succeed, so we're providing you with this content. You don't have to say it in those words, but I'd like to see us have more confidence there. But again, eliminate words that don't have value and that aren't speaking constantly to the pain that your organization is solving for. So with that, I'll move on. I'm happy to answer any questions about that, but hopefully, is this resonant for you? Are you guys seeing this from organizations that are marketing to you? And do you sense that perhaps you might be able to be improving there yourselves? So I'd be interested in your feedback there, either in the chat and during the session, or you can follow up with me afterwards. So again, to recap, audit. This is actually one of the things that I really like about being in person. Thanks, Eva. and if you're not in person, no big deal. You can find a way to do it. But when you get to be in person, I actually like to print this stuff out and get it up on a wall so we can see the ads and the emails and the landing pages and the bot language and the sales scripts and see where we're doing well and where we could be doing much better, to the point where we could be getting more progress from the qualified prospects that we're interacting with. So much opportunity here. Inspiration. I don't have it in this presentation, but I could probably do a blog in the next week or two with some inspiration there. So next steps for growth for any of you. So whether you're internal at an organization or you're at an agency, I really like for you to do your audits, your workflows, assess them, make some decisions, fix what you've got going on today, and then build into your operations flow, making sure that you're constantly auditing or being on top of the messaging. Because if our words are not resonant, it doesn't matter how much we're spending on targeting or how much we're spending on tech. It's not gonna work for our prospects. I also like to do some auditing on competitor workflows, because I think it can be really helpful to see what they're doing. And then companies in adjacent spaces. So, and that ties into my next point. Notice in general what's working for you on the in-betweens in the world at large. Very, very quick story. I was just advertising for an Airtable developer. And this guy and I advertised on Twitter, and he was listening on Twitter and sent me an automated DM. And then I think he sent me an automated email, and the automated DM, I did not know was automated. I think it wasn't until a little bit into the email from this guy that I was like, oh, this is automated. And it was because his language was so good. Now, his process was good as well. I mean, his tech was flawless, but his message was so good, I didn't even feel like I was getting an automated message. So I think that's something to be aware of, B2C, B2B stuff, just in general. Where are you seeing stuff that's working for you? And how could you replicate that in the work and the outreach that you're doing? So I talked about this at the beginning, where I think we can't just be assessing channels or assets, tactics, how those are doing without the message. So are our ads not doing well because we're not, bidding the highest on what we should be doing, or paying enough, or the targeting's off, or whatever? Like, yes, but is the message any good is where we should start. So those are the areas that I think are really, really important to be looking at first, doing this audit work. And then, just as a little bit of a flow, or a bonus, once you're in the flow of auditing your own marketing space, kind of the next level of project I'd love for you to look at to improve conversion rates is what other functional areas in your organizations are doing. So just very briefly, product, marketing, sales, and success all have insights the other teams need, but we're not great at sharing today. So one of the things that I'll have that you guys will get in the follow-up communication is a book that I've done, which is free. It's an ebook where I talk about this very challenge, is the sort of moats and drawbridges. We're really segmented internally at most organizations: product, marketing, sales, and success. There's a lot that we can learn from each other. And the book does a very easy overlay of that. And that could be the next thing. But don't do the book until you've done these audits first, because I think that's really important for conversion rate optimization. So with that, let me just go to a couple of questions, and then Jacob, come back to you and see if there are any more. So I promise I will do a blog in the coming weeks with some examples for inspiration. I have some of those. In fact, I've just captured for a client a really great webinar thing that a company called Turtle, Turtl, has done. So I will come back to that. Can you suggest resources where we can learn more about improving email marketing? So one of the easy things I can just do very high level right now is subject headers. If we take the same approach to subject headers that we take to improving the copy in our ads, I think that can really increase open rates, not just open rates, because whatever on open rates, but open and then action. And then really making sure that we're not wasting any words within emails. So very high level there. And let me think about if I can come back to that as well. Next question. Teleconsultation. At the end of the day, you're leading with a high-tech product. Understand the AV, we usually forget about them. So I want to make sure I'm getting the question there. Jacob, is that something? Marina,
Yeah.
if you have a second just to sort of maybe ask that again, I would appreciate it. And certainly you could follow up with me afterwards as well. And then Connie, if you would give one quick and simple advice for separating the signal from the noise and really remove the silent killers, what would it be? So you'll each get I think you'll get a copy of this deck. But looking at particularly, I would say the emails.
Yeah.
I think the emails are a place where we could be doing a lot better. And even just looking at the email example that I had and comparing that to the ones that you're sending out on behalf of sales and the ones that sales are sending out, particularly if sales is using a tool like Outreach or Sales Loft, you want to see what they're sending. One last point there is you want to see what they're sending, because often if sales is doing ineffective messaging, that reflects on marketing. They'll say these leads don't convert, or they're not ready to buy, or whatever, when really they're qualified leads, but we're not handling them appropriately.
So
Hopefully
true.
that helps.
Awesome closing note. That's so great. Thank you, Maureen, for an awesome presentation.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and so exciting to hear more about this and read your book as well. So
cheers.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks. See y'all.
See you. Wow, what a day. We have learned so much, and Maureen was really, really great at explaining how to send over a clear signal and not making it noisy and uninteresting, so to say. So if you learned something, maybe you can just write it off here today in the chat and see if you have got anything with you that we would like to conclude before we just wrap up really, really quickly now before of the day here. Yeah, any insights you have, please share it in the chat. While we do that, I can also remind you of signing up for the free digital marketing audit and the growth workshop it leads to. So if you would like to get a workshop or get a chance to get a workshop and a free audit, please do so. And yeah,
and we also would like to mention and highlight another upcoming event that we are doing in collaboration with Demandbase, and it takes place on April 28th. And during this event, our ABM experts will show you the proven steps to quickly fill your pipeline with high quality opportunities that are bigger, will close faster, and make 2022 your strongest year yet. So we will send out a CTA button. Yeah, it's right there. And you can sign up there for free. So make sure to check it out.
Yeah. And thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. We hope you have learned a lot. And we're so grateful for you hanging out with us here today. And we'll send over all the content with you tomorrow, so you can have even a better learning experience the coming days, so we can follow up. So with that, let's finish this up with the last. So hang on with me here. Let's go out and woo! Is it party or is it party? Woo! Thank you so much for today. Woo! Have a great day.